Do you need a tissue?
Nope. And oh, look at that. And we're here. Sorry about that. I am going to, where am I going? Austin, Texas tomorrow to go to South by Southwest to speak. And then I have another gig while I'm there. And so I am just, I had to run up to school because we had a snow day on Friday. So I didn't get to go up and make copies and like get my room ready and stuff like that for the sub. So I had to go do that. And then it just took me longer than I thought it was going to. But my whole life is a hustle and there's no slow or downtime really. So tis the season for that kind of stuff, I guess. But what's up, everybody? It's do we have school tomorrow, Mark? I don't know, but McDaniel sent out an email about an after-school meeting, so which didn't fill me with hope that we would have off tomorrow. So we'll just have to see what's going on. But what's up, everybody? For those of you that have not been here before that are going to watch this live feed and never heard of my channel before, my name is CJ Reynolds, and this is Sunday Night Teacher Talk, a show where it's really not even a show. It's just me sitting on here talking, answering people's questions about teaching and like, what are you freaking out about this week? Because I try to create content on YouTube that I wish existed when I started teaching, over 14 years ago now. And I remember being freaked out on Sunday nights, and I wish that something like this existed. So I'm on here. All these homies on the side are on here. Everyone from Hales Teach to, I don't know who's on here tonight. Leah Pratt's on here. Rebecca Murphy, Jules G, like all these folks are on here and they will help you with it, whatever you are kind of like thinking about too. Cause that's what they do. Cause I just see, I don't get to read this while it's going on, but it's just flying by the whole time. And then my wife picks out questions. So, if you have questions, just put them in the side. I'll answer anything that you got. Nothing's too weird or too racy or whatever. Because I think that the more we are willing as human beings to have difficult conversations, the better off we are. Like, I think most of your success is predicated on your ability to have hard conversations. I know that's why I'm still married, because I learned how to have difficult conversations. So yeah, if anyone's in the Austin, Texas area this week, I will be there and we should hang out. And then I'll be, I don't know. And then
You're in Waco.
Then I'm in Waco. Then I'm in Miami. Then I'm in.
That's it for now. 1 month at a time.
St. Joe's is at the end of the month in Philly. Yeah, and then I'll start making actual regular YouTube content after that, because I've just been so crazy busy that I can't get it all done. And I got this other secret project going on that I'm not going to talk about yet. Secret project.
I don't know what that is.
Anyway.
Yeah. All right.
All right.
Steve Hearns gave $1. Thanks, man.
Hey, thanks, Steve. When people give money, just so you know, right? Like, let me talk about this while you're pulling up questions. Maybe a month ago, we just threw out there this idea that would anyone give money if we were going to give haircuts to my students, right? Haircut culture is really important in West Philadelphia, in Philadelphia in general. And so like when kids get bad haircuts because their mom decides to do it in the kitchen because they don't want to pay $20, which is completely understandable. But they need a haircut, they just do it in the kitchen. And then sometimes that thing gets jacked up and it looks like your mom cut your hair in the kitchen. So I had this idea that I was going to pay local barbers that were former students of mine to cut kids' hair, and people just started giving money. And I didn't ask for it yet. I don't think we even asked for it. It was just kind of like, do you think people would do this? And so we set that up. Like we're
collecting.
We are
sitting in PayPal.
All that money's sitting in PayPal, and we're trying to organize whether or not. The question right now is like, do barbers have time? Like, should I just send kids there and they get a haircut and then like I Venmo them money, or do I want to do like an event at school where like kids that we pre-select will show up to the school, get a haircut? We'll have 2 of those barbers there. So that's going to happen in the next couple of weeks. But I've been literally speaking somewhere every weekend. And so I just have not been able to like coordinate a date, but it will happen in end of March, beginning of April at the latest, if we do the event. And so my hope is to make a video out of that. But my hope is what I don't want to do is like show kids' faces, because I don't want to put them on blast for, needing a hookup. But I would just get like shots and talking to the barber of the space that we created and all that stuff. Yeah, like side shots or back of someone's head, because a lot of them the back of your head. It just looks like the back of your head.
You could blur faces.
A lot of people think I look like Ryan Reynolds from
Shush.
the backside of my head.
Questions.
So, questions. Let's go. Jamie Crook is asking, how do you survive if you are if you are solo parenting and full-time teaching with planning? Where's the rest of that question?
Oh shoot.
With planning, with time management. So first of all, in terms of, look, not until my wife went back to work. You were home for what, 10 years before you went back to work?
7.
Yeah,
7
you had
or
a long
8.
hiatus.
It was lovely.
I know.
Hey, no hiatus. I worked my butt
Just
off.
chilling. So, but after you went back to work after 10 years, it was a huge transition for me. It was like, get home early, pick up the kids, or get them from like a sitter that we had to pay through the nose for, come home, do homework, make dinner, make sure the house is in order, then do whatever I had to do for like YouTube and everything else that I was doing.
And then I came home and gave showers.
Yeah, then you would come home and give showers. I would go back to work. And it was like the most exhausting thing because we have no help. I have family, but both my parents are gone. Her mom lives in New Mexico. Her dad works a lot. Like, we don't have like that typical like someone reaching out. So I'm
grandparent situation.
No,
right.
And so I bring all that up just to kind of like prove the point of like I get it. Like it's difficult. I think you just pivot all the time. I think you figure out like what is enough to get by in school some weeks, and then some weeks just aren't. Even my classroom is not awesome all the time. Like, some weeks it's like passable, and I feel like if anybody came into my room, they would be like completely underwhelmed by what we were doing. And then other weeks it's awesome. It's like, oh shit, like I feel like a great teacher. And that's how I feel like as a parent also, or as a husband. It's like there are times when like you just have to something has to take precedence over other things. And I think it's you just keep doing it. And over time, you start getting used to it, right? It's like the first time your little kids like threw up, right? It was like a nightmare. You didn't know how to do it. After like the 15th time they've thrown up, you're like, you gotta deal with this. Get the bleach, get the, I don't know, whatever that crap is.
You don't even know because you don't ever do that part.
I really just go,
you're a good cuddler of kids.
I will cuddle the children while you clean up their vomit and poop. Right? So it's like, I think you just get used to, there's not so many, things don't get easier. You just get better at dealing with them. I think that's what it comes down to.
And self-care.
Yeah, and self-care.
You have
Absolutely.
to put that in there.
And look, not like we always have money for stuff like this either. I just make it a precedent. Like, making sure that I'm running, making sure I'm going to the gym, making sure I pay for hot yoga, making sure I pay for getting a massage or something like that, or going to the doctors.
Yeah, it ebbs and flows for
sure,
for anyone.
But it's like it's making sure you're doing that stuff, and that because it's life giving. Mm-hmm. Winter. Ogilvy. I think that's right. Winter's asking, how do you quote unquote fix a class that is not going well at this point in the school year? I think this is the best time in the school year to make a class better. I think that this year, so look, there's always a big thing that comes up every year, right? So like let's just put this out there. We had 1 year, my wife woke up in the middle of the night. We didn't even know that she was pregnant. She had an ectopic pregnancy. She had to have a surgery like in the middle of the night. We didn't get to call anyone. No one else knew. Like, I slept in the hospital. There's not a soul around. And it was this really horrific thing to deal with. And then that was like, it was heartbreaking. And then, the next year they found like a mass.
I had like 3 surgeries every year for the next year.
They thought it was cancer. And so that was the thing. It was like, anyone out there that knows anyone who's ever had cancer, it's not like they just take care of stuff right away. They're like, okay, it's really aggressive. Stage 4, going to wait about 6 weeks till we start doing treatment. It's like, what are you talking about? If there's a fire that's really bad at your house, you don't friggin' say, we'll be there in like, a little bit. Tomorrow, maybe we got some room in our schedule. No, you get on that ship. I don't really know why they do that. But anyway, that was heartbreaking. And then, even this year, like, my grandma was sick, and like out of nowhere, she fell, she broke her leg. She ended up in the hospital. She ended up in hospice, and that took up a lot of time and energy, and still like really raw. I mean, she's a great part of my life. The point being is that when you go through that stuff, like school can suck. And I just felt like this year that I'm not on my A game. I feel like I'm at like a C, straight C at best. But my plan is to kick ass at the end of the year, for the end of the year. And part of the reason I know I can do that is because, one, you can see the end of the year. You can literally reverse engineer your year from here on out. Like, what do you want to get done? What do you want to teach? What kind of cool stuff do you want to do? And then go for it, because it's almost done anyway. It's like you can see the finish line. Just sprint the rest of the way. Don't like jog. Don't take a sip of water. Don't think about it. Like, just kick ass. And I just think that it's easier to do that when you can see the finish line, when like you can see the buds. If you look on bushes right now and you're in our part of the country, like in the Northeast, like you can see the buds forming on the ends of the branches. You can see the tulips just under the dirt. And so it's like, it's coming. So just kick ass, and then you'll be better for it, because there's an out anyway. If shit just goes completely sideways, then that you can just still do well, or like it's going to be over. So like, who cares if it went completely sideways anyway? Like, what can you learn from that experience, and then how can you apply that next year? What do you got for me, dude? That was no.
Oh,
living a lie.
I was not paying attention.
You are living a lie. Want me to sing a song?
Nope, I got one.
You're really good. I feel you're at some point I'm going to be able to sing a song, and
you might catch me.
You always ruin it. Tatiana Spencer. I used to teach Tatiana. I think I taught several Tatianas. I like that word, or that name. Hey Reynolds, in your experience, is common for school administrators to feel disorganized and putting out one initiative after another, hoping something will stick? Yeah, especially, I feel like, I don't know if like wealthy schools or schools with like, not just wealthy, but schools with like with a history, with where there's like something like tried and true measures that they found for whatever population they're teaching. Maybe those folks like don't deal with this. I don't really know, but where I teach, it's always like some new harebrained scheme this year. Like, this year we're going to try this thing, right? We're going to do this crazy new thing. And sometimes those work, right? So like our principal, a number of years ago, wanted to do, what do we call it? It's like a schedule that moves. Like, I forget what the hell they call it. They have a name for it. No, it's like, so like Mondays, it's like period 1 through 7, straight through. Period 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Then Tuesday, it's like 2, 3, 6, 7, lunch period, and then 1 and 2 are at the end of the period. And then the next day, it's like 3. So it just keeps moving down. The idea there was that,
block schedule,
and a lot of times, yeah.
Block
So,
schedule.
but no, that's not block. Mine's not block schedule. Block schedule is when you have like one English class for like 4 hours or something like that in a week. But at first I was like, this is a terrible idea. I don't want to, I like it. Who the hell wants to deal with all this? It's confusing. It's weird, but it ended up being awesome. And then other years, other schools, especially when I was in Camden had a new idea like every week. I just started ignoring them and not going along with whatever they were saying, because I was one of the only people that stayed at the school. I don't necessarily recommend you go against the wishes of your school all the time, but it worked for me. And so I think that is difficult, because they're always coming up with some new crazy idea. I just don't buy into all of them right away. I just wait and see if it's actually going to work. Because sometimes you put in all that work, and then the next year, like, yeah, we don't want to do that anymore. We have this new idea. And then it's like, dude, what the hell? I just did all this stuff for nothing. So yeah, I don't think that works. What do you got?
I got
singing
nope.
time. Oh, Kim H is saying, I'm struggling with the other teacher in my grade level. She's super nice, but unreliable and flaky. She's a mentor teacher, but I feel like I'm pretty much on my own. Advice. So I would say, Kim, I found a long time ago that I don't, how do I put this? Because it's going to sound really cold and weird. Maybe I'll just explain it a little bit. I don't like count on anyone. There's no one at my school that I need. I'd like to be able to do as much stuff as I can on my own. And the reason for that is, one, teaching inner city, like the turnover rate is so crazy sometimes that like, sometimes I just feel like half the staff leaves in a given year, right? Maybe it's not that much, but if there are pivotal people that you care about, that you wanted to be there, that you had, some kind of connective piece with and so right now there are people like I've had on the channel before, like Bluth or Cho or Yonkers, like Hasty, like there's people that I really count on at this point, but really there's not anyone that if they left, I'd be like, oh no, the school's going to change. Oh no, my class is going to be different. Like I'm doing what I'm doing. Like, and that happens in my classroom. I don't need anyone to ensure that that's going to happen. Now, I think that being said, like the idea of a mentor is like, I wouldn't need it. And I think you can find mentoring other places. I think online, I think on the Facebook group, I think on here, I think you could email any number of these people and they would help you out. I have a paid mentoring program, but again, that costs money, but like, so it's not free or by your school or something like that. But, I don't know, maybe get your school to.
I wonder if your school would fund something
Yeah, get your school to pay me. I'll mentor you.
So someone in the comments said that they wish they could get, Rebecca Murphy said, I wish I could get professional development points for showing up to your live. Someone did.
Somebody emailed. Oh, did they say it on there?
No, I did.
There are schools that pay folks that watch. Now, look.
No, they don't pay.
No, they don't pay. They give
points.
Credit for professional development for watching. Now, I've heard my channel. I'm certain there are other people's channels as well that they would get credit for, like Letter Classroom or Pocket Full Primer, like these kind of high end, like really well put together folks. But like, I think the other part of that, real quick, is dealing with the flakiness. Is like it's like if I don't expect anything of anyone, then I'm never let down. And that sounds cold and dark and weird, but like I've just had a life where like too many people have flaked. And so I just don't count on anything anymore. And every time I do, I find that same thing. Like I've worked with people that were really flaky and you couldn't count on them. And when you count on them, it's like, shit. So I just stopped doing that. And now I just do my own thing, which isn't a particularly good question, but answer, but that's kind of what I'm feeling at the moment anyway.
Wait, a Piano Boy had a joke. He said, why did the pony think it could fly?
Why?
It's all horsefly. I love it. Anyway, I love cheesy jokes. They're my theme.
I make a tissue dance.
Put a little boogie
in it. Piano Boy said, I got my second interview for teaching position on Tuesday at the high school I went to. What advice do you have for the board or panel interviews? I think, one is don't give an interview that you think is just going to get you the job. Like give the interview that you think is going to best represent you. One, and two, maybe reflect on your experience at that school and what it was like and what you wanted to bring. Like, what are you willing to bring to the school to make it the best place that it could possibly be, right? Like, is it the lessons? Is it being a part of the culture there? Like, how do you see yourself taking the school to the next level or helping be a part of that situation? And that's what I would do. So I would do a little bit of digging into what the school's working on now, how it's changed since you've been there. What does the website say? What do their goals say? What's stuff you wouldn't have necessarily looked into when you were a student there, but what are they doing and what initiatives do you see yourself being a part of? And that shows that you did your homework also. And then ask questions. Come prepared with questions to ask them about their school, about their programs, that just clarify a few things so that you're sure that that's somewhere you want to be as well. And I think that just flips the interview all the time. It shows people that you're getting off defense and going on offense for a moment. And I think that's a good thing. Grace Kim is saying, where do you shop, Reynolds? All your outfits are on point. Thank you. This outfit feels like I am a homeless man who lost a race a long time. Oh, no, that joke didn't really work. But I shop everywhere. I
No, we're bougie because we
don't
make that kind of money.
Occasionally, J. Crew's the bougiest I get, but that's at the outlet J. Crew store. Old Navy, American Eagle, Target, just regular old places. And some of those places work, but what's the Old Navy? Is that the place?
We went there yesterday.
When they have their pants, and their pants always have this weird pouch in the front of them.
Yeah, no matter what size.
It's
I can't
weird.
fit Old Navy pants either. I wish I could because they're so cute.
It's they're made for some person that I am not. Any tips for picking YA literature for the classroom? For real, I would gosh, this is what I would do. I would, one, ask your students what they're interested in. What do they want to read? Have them go on Amazon and look stuff up and see what they think is interesting to them. Did I not? I don't think I did.
No,
Alex. Sorry, Alex. Alex.
It's her first time here, she said.
Oh, awesome. Look at that.
She said a huge thank you to your channel, but she said she never makes it to a live feed.
Oh, well, look, you made it to the live feed, and I'm answering your question. Awesome. So look, I think that's what I do. Number one is I just ask kids, like, what are they interested in? Doesn't mean you have to order that particular book, but it gives you a sense of like where your students are and what they're interested in. As teacher, I think teachers too many times, like, even base lessons on things that they think are cool. So I used to know this guy that taught, and he would base his lessons a lot of times on music that he liked. So like Explosions in the Sky or Singer Rose or Band of Horses. And it's like, that's all I like all that music also, but my students certainly don't like it. But if you base the lesson on Young Thug or 2 Chainz or Lil Baby, like, that is the game changer right there, right? And not because you're trying to be cool as usual, because you're trying to be relevant. It changes the game. And so that's why you ask your students what they're interested in. And then there's a guy on YouTube, you can just get his email from anywhere, called Colby Sharp. And Colby Sharp is like the master of books for kids. Like, he knows everything. I would hit that dude up also. You could, like, so there's another guy, you can find him on Twitter. His name's Randy Rebuy. Can you type that in the comment, John? Because we'll probably spell it wrong anyway. My friend Randy White, he writes YA books, and then he what does he do? He like reviews them and stuff too, like for literary magazines and stuff. So he like he's like super into YA writing and all that stuff. And I just think that they're better resources than necessarily I am for that kind of stuff. But that's what I would do. Got a question? Oh, so then Alex is asking, how do you encourage reluctant readers? I put books in front of them that they want to read, and then I read books with them. I never, ever, ever doing work while my kids are reading. So like if I have independent reading days once a week, let's say it's on Wednesday. You're really painting your nails right now, aren't you?
I'm not.
Because I could smell it.
Yeah, I'm playing with nail polish because Marley has it out. Sorry.
Strong. So what that looks like is every Wednesday for 20 minutes or so, we just read whatever books we've picked already. And I show whatever book I'm reading that week, and then I start reading it. And right now I'm reading How to Be a Bouse by Lily Singh. She's a YouTuber that I think it's pronounced Bouse.
How do you know?
Because I heard her in an interview say Bouse.
Okay.
And it's spelled B-A-W-S-E.
Not B-A-W.
Bouse. So I am reading something with them, and then I just sit with them. I let them sit wherever they want in the room. They can sit on the windowsill, on the floor, in the little boxes in the back, on the couch, whatever. And then I go to wherever the majority of the students are, and I just sit with them, and not like to keep an eye on them, even though that's why I'm really there, but to just chill and mimic for them, like show them what it looks like to read and to be interested. And then at the end of it, I go, yo, who's reading what? Like, what's happening in your book? And kids talk about it. It gets other kids interested in like weird books that they didn't think about before. Or I'll say like, yo, I got to read you this part from my book real quick. And then I'll just read something from, a passage from the book that I thought was particularly interesting that week. And then we talk about it. And I think that's how you build a culture around books. It's really like reading stuff and then sharing ideas, and like who wants to share an idea, who thought of something cool, who thought of something relatable, who thought of something funny. And that works really, really well. La Verdad. That's me with my Jersey accent. Talking about scheduling healthy activities in the week to week groove. I'd appreciate your experience on that. So I think in my experience, it really comes down to making non-negotiables, right? Like to be honest, like social media has made this easier for me. Like I post almost every day that I run. And so today's day 84, I think, that I've run in a row. Like I've not taken a day off since December 10th, and I've run every single day since then. My plan is to run every single day for a year. Now I only run at the minimum, it's a mile. So tonight it's snowing and raining outside. And so if I don't go to the gym, it's a mile. And then if I go to the gym, I just feel it out. Like, do I feel like going more? Do I want to push myself? Like some nights it really hurts. And I've been eating too much bread lately, so like my joints hurt because I'm old. But it is a non-negotiable. But when I post that on social media, it helps to keep me accountable. If I miss days, there are friends online that go like, yo, did you run today? Did you miss a day? Like, what happened? I also get up every morning at 5 a.m. without fail. And here's how I do it. When the alarm goes off, I get to snooze once if I want. So that's an extra 9 minutes in bed. After that, I put my feet on the floor. And if I don't get up, then I fall asleep in bed with my feet on the floor and my back still on the bed. That hurts like hell when you get up. If you fall back to sleep for even 10 more minutes, it's really painful. But so it's usually enough to get me out of bed. And if it doesn't, then I realize that for the next time, I better get my butt out of bed because it hurts to have your feet on the floor. So then I get up, I go through my morning routine, and that is really, I think, a game changer more than anything else because it sets my day. So that looks like I wake up, I pray silently for as long as it takes. Like I don't have an alarm or anything set. Like then I sort of like I do affirmations, like where I repeat certain things, and I do it aloud, but I do it very low so I don't wake everyone up. And then I envision my day. So like I envision like exactly what I have to do that day and what I need to get done and like what it would look like if it went well. And then I envision like the rest of my life. Like what are the goals that I'm sort of dreaming of that are like on the top echelon of like of everything that I want to achieve in my life. And then I literally picture myself like opening that car door handle, feeding chickens because I want to own chickens and own a tiny horse that his name will be Kevin. And I picture myself walking in a field with Kevin and feeding him. So that's really stuff that I do. And then I read in the morning for 20 minutes. My wife comes down, we have coffee together for 30 minutes, and then I get ready for school. And that all takes about an hour. But that's the start of it. I think the bottom line is you're building momentum. So if you get up even 10 minutes earlier and then 15 minutes earlier and then 20 minutes earlier, like you're building momentum, and then you'll start doing something else that's healthy in your life and something else that's healthy in your life and something else that's restorative. And so I think that that's what it is. The name of the game is momentum in anything, right? Very rarely do you meet someone and you're like, let's get married, right? No, you got to build momentum up to that. Very like no one has 6-pack abs all of a sudden. No, you have to build momentum up and then get 6-pack abs. Like no one even just pops out a baby. You got to build momentum up and then you pop out a baby. And like, so I think that's how it works. So that's what I think you do. It's a momentum game. So what little thing can you do tomorrow that just starts building the momentum? Hands down. Laura Brady is asking, would you please talk a little bit about your tips for teachers during job fair? I'm freshly out of undergrad and into my master's, I think. So I've never had an adult job. At a job, man, job fairs would be weird. I've never been to a job fair. But I know kind of what you're talking about. Like, because we recruit at those things all the time.
I feel like it's like your theme of like being uncommon.
Yeah. So I think, look, did I talk about this already? Let's use this movie reference because a friend of mine just used it recently. If you remember, there's a movie that if you haven't watched it, I might be recommending that you watch this movie called Legally Blonde with Reese Witherspoon. And in that movie, Reese Witherspoon goes on a job interview, I think the thing was, but a resume is printed on pink paper, not regular paper, and it's sprayed with, have perfume on it or something like that, right? It's like some fancy perfume. And then that's what she gives in. You know, David Goggins would say, you need to be uncommon amongst uncommon people. So take all the weirdos that you are associated with, and I mean, I'm assuming you're a weirdo. I know I am. So, because I'm a 40-year-old man that makes YouTube videos. So you take all the weird people you're associated with, all the wackos that are doing like cool stuff in your life, and you want to be uncommon even amongst those folks. So how do you do that? I think it just comes down to like trying to think of how you could possibly separate yourself from everyone else. Everyone else has the same clothes on, they have the same story, they have the same sort of resume. You know, look, my resume is not even good. Like I went to community college for too long. And then I went to a state school in New Jersey. I went to Rowan University, which at that time, like nobody knew about Rowan University. Now it's all bougie and nice when you go down there and I get to, you know, people are like, oh, you went to Rowan? And it's like, back then it was like, oh, you went to Rowan? And so I think that I just knew I wanted to kick ass. So it's like just about trying to find those little ways that you can like be uncommon amongst uncommon people. And then think of that when you're walking around that job fair, like what does that look like? Does it look like you're gonna, so like one of the things I do is I write handwritten thank you notes to everyone I meet. So when I go to this conference this week, every single person that I get a business card from gets a handwritten note back from me. And that breaks through the white space, or breaks through the noise, right? It is the white space. It is, no one's sending handwritten notes anymore. Or you could type them also, but if I did that, I would do it like on a typewriter. And then send that out and just say, hey, thanks so much for taking the time to meet with me. I really appreciate it, blah, blah, blah. That was it. Or I have a friend, Randy, that like when Randy would do job fairs, he would always ask folks what Game of Thrones character they most closely relate themselves with.
Really?
Yeah, that was like one of his interview questions for people at job fairs. And it went over really well because it made it fun. It made it a little bit different.
You got some insight.
Yeah, and you got some insight into who somebody thought that they were. So if someone said that they were Littlefinger, probably don't want to, hire that dude. If they were Joffrey,
Someone said that they should check out Pocketful of Primary, who she's really good at that sort of stuff too. Like she has like a
job interview.
Yeah, not job interview, but like the job fair. So
before.
she's like a portfolio that she has made that just kind of, it's just the little things that go above and beyond that make you stand out different from the common people around you.
Yeah. So if you go on any YouTuber's site, or if you even go on my friend Michelle's on Pocketful Primary, at the top where it says like videos channel about, there's a little magnifying glass for those of you that don't know. You can just type in a keyword in there and it will just search her content and you can find videos based on that, because I know that she was doing like trying to find a job just recently, like a couple years ago or whatever it was.
Yeah.
Jamie Crook, how do you deal with an out of control class? I mean, there's a million ways you could deal with an out of control class. It really depends on like what they're doing and who they are and what your personality is. So look, my friend, Mr. Bluth, who was on a video not too long ago, Bluth is he is just like the most earnest dude you ever met. It's like, he doesn't like, he's just a good dude. And so Bluth grew up in Southern California. He has that kind of Southern California demeanor where he's just like, man, like, why can't everyone just do their work? Why can't everyone just chill? Like, why are they so wild and loud and crap? And so Bluth used to yell, and Bluth used to get really mad, and Bluth would come to me at the end of the day and look like he was all frazzled. But now in class, you should see him. If someone acts out of pocket, he has these sheets, they're called classroom reflections, and the kid has to write what they did, what the teacher said they did, what they perceived as what they did, how they should have handled it better, and what they should do next time, right? And so it is not an admission of guilt. It is like, I'm just going to reflect on this moment in time, and then we can talk about it later, because it also informs the teacher too as to like what happened in the child's mind. So if someone's acting out of pocket in class, Bluth goes, "Oh, I'm sorry. You can't call another student an asshole. And I'm sorry that we didn't talk about this before. I'm going to need you to go ahead, fill out this reflection." And he just keeps it super cool all the time, but almost in a way that's like tongue in cheek. And it is so funny to watch because kids don't know what to do with that. They're used to getting yelled at and stuff. And Bluth just comes over to them, talks to them really calm and cool like this. And our assistant principal, Mr. Dorian, does the same thing. Dorian does that like at nauseum to kids, where kids are just like, yo, I think there's something wrong with that guy. And I'm like, no, man, it's so calculated. It's so brilliant because it's so calculated. And then there's folks like Cho, who like just takes no bullshit, but like is not afraid of anyone, like will stare you dead in your eye until you submit to whatever she says. And then the kids love her for it. And then other kids have her back. For me, it's like, I just make fun of dudes. Like I just crack jokes that snap you back in line. Like that say,
because you're super witty.
I use that.
The point is everybody
has
something.
But I use the wittiness to like, it almost is like a punch to the stomach where someone's like gasping for air. Like they don't know what to say back because that whatever I said was like so ridiculous or out of pocket. And like, they don't know what to do.
Sometimes I wish they could really.
So look, I mean, and some of that stuff, look, there's reasons I don't like share what I say all the time because in the moment it's funny, right? But when it's when I say it out loud, like not everybody gets it, or they might like take it the wrong way. Like I know that there's definitely ways that I talk to kids. When I keep it real with kids, like that, and that's why I break it down. Like I tell kids in class, like, yo, like, let me just break this down for you because this is 100% where you're headed. I don't sugarcoat it. I don't make it seem like everything is going to be all right. I'm just like reading some truth. And so when I do that, other teachers have in the past like heard me say things and they're like, you're like belittling children, or like you're like verbally assaulting them. I'm like, what are you talking about, man? Like I love my students. I just don't suffer fools, and I try and suffocate bullshit as often as I can. And sometimes that comes off as really passionate, and there are other people that like just don't see it that way. But I just know it works. Like it works because I've been doing it for 14 years and I've seen 100% work. And that's just kind of like it down. So I hope that kind of answered your question. That's like a couple different ways that people deal with it. Patrick Millihan says, I'm conservative and I'm worried about not fitting into the political atmosphere in public high schools as a future high school teacher. Look, Patrick, that's a really great point. So my wife and I were just talking about this last night, where there are folks that, so let me break this down for you, right? I purposefully, like, almost never get caught up in anything that's happening online that has to do with some hot button topic in terms of like, how do I say this? We were just talking about this yesterday, remember?
I mean, yeah, you don't like, so race, I mean, that's like a big hot button topic, right? I just think that what you do is, the difference in what you do is like, you don't politically take a stand for or against something. You always say it's about the conversation, one, and two, you lead by example of what you do in just your actions of who you are as a person in the classroom with students, yada, yada.
I am always far more interested in knowing someone's story and not just demonizing them or like becoming divisive or like saying something that's going to be like, you're over there and I'm over here and there's no common ground, right? There's too much of that in the political climate or just in the world in general right now. But I think, so like, look, let me break it down for you like this. A few years ago, one of my students was shot, came out of a basketball game. There was a fight, some kind of altercation between these two dudes the night before. Guy came back with his homies, shot my student in the face, right? And he was killed immediately. It was really, really sad. Everyone really loved this kid. He was a great dude. And he was dead. One of my first thoughts was, like right after, like, so my first thought is always like, what are we doing tomorrow? Like, let's get ready because we got to take care of kids. But one of my other first thoughts was, I would love to go to that prison because they caught the kid like immediately because he just did it in public. And go talk to that student, the kid that shot my student, because I would love to know, where did that come from? Like, what made you make that decision? Like, what made you think that this was okay, or that you had to do this, or whatever it was that was running through your mind? I'd love to know that, because I think it just informs you as a teacher, right? It informs you as a human being. It helps you to like see how kids think and how they react to things. And there were a lot of people that like I talked to about that like just didn't think that was a good idea or thought that was stupid or like, how could you? And to me, it's like, they're still kids, right? Like I love that dude too, but like I would, that other side of that is interesting to me, and not in a way where I think that kid's not guilty or like that he shouldn't be punished. Like that. I'm not saying that. I'm just interested in the story. And so if I was, conservative going into somewhere that was like very liberal, I would just be interested in like, if someone came to me and said like, whoever you voted for is wrong. To me, it's more like, no, he's not, or no, she's not. This is why I believe what I believe. It's like, that's really interesting. Can you tell me why you think that? But you come at it from a really authentic place and not like oh, really? Why do you think that? You're not trying to be like sassy with someone, but really legitimately and honestly asking questions. And I think that that's a much better place to be in, is how are you asking questions about what's going on? So I don't care if you voted for Hillary in the last election or Donald Trump, right? Like if someone comes at you and says that they believe we should build a wall between the US and Mexico, my answer isn't always like, I'm not going to like immediately just stick up for everyone that's at the border, all this stuff that's been in the news, like people that are trapped there, families that are being separated. I'm not going to try and prove my point. What I'd rather know is like, bro, that's fascinating to me because I know all the stuff that's going on. It's fascinating to me. Could you tell me how you came to this conclusion? And that's what I'd rather hear, because that's where you can meet people, make a connection, and possibly, like come together as human beings, as opposed to like, you're on that side, get the frig away from me. I'm not even talking about that. This is why you're wrong. It's like breaking it down and having that conversation. So that's what I would do. I don't really like talking about politics either. So it's like, it's not, I'm trying to stay in my lane right here. So
I mean, that's really what his concern is also.
Yeah.
Like,
Vincent Messina is saying, in Pennsylvania, are there programs that specialize in dyslexia?
Saying, are there any programs? Like, I don't know what she means. Like, for teaching teachers, or
my experience, what I've been told is that schools are not mandated to test children for dyslexia, and I think that comes from.
Is that specific for Pennsylvania?
That's what I was told. When I asked about it, because I thought I had a student that I was almost certain was dyslexic. The parent came to me and asked me about it, asked me what my opinion was. I told them what my opinion was. I suggested they go to their special ed department and see if they can get their child tested.
Okay, so they're not mandated to screen for dyslexia, but by law, under IDEA, and that's a federal law, not state, it is mandated for them to test in every area of suspected disability. So that trumps that. Like, you're talking about a screening. So like, there's a dyslexia screening for most schools. Like, New Jersey is mandated. Pennsylvania is not mandated to screen for dyslexia.
The parent asked if they could have their child tested for dyslexia, and they were told no.
That is against the federal law based upon under IDEA.
Is it? Or is that
no,
not
absolutely.
in Pennsylvania?
No. Federal trumps state always. And it's a federal law. It's not a state law.
But
so I'm not sure what she's asking. Like, are there programs like schools? There's like tons of great schools in Pennsylvania, like private schools for dyslexia. But if you're looking for programs in like what they do for dyslexia, you have places like Scottish Rite, which is a free organization. You can get on a signing list if you need tutoring for someone in dyslexia, or there's a grassroots.
Move over.
I don't want to.
You look really pretty today.
Thank you. There's a grassroots organization. Every state should have one, and it's called Decoding Dyslexia. You can look under them and find probably lots of resources as well.
What about Wilson programming?
Oh, well, yeah, that's like a specific like programming for like when you actually tutor. Yeah, Wilson, Susan Barton.
Do you want to tell the name of your group that you're part of? Is that working?
Yeah, there's a great Facebook group, like a closed Facebook group you can go to. I don't know what it's called offhand. Oh, for parents of children with dyslexia, something like that.
So that's what she uses in like every question that she asks.
A really good resource
it's the best resource.
And you don't even you could just be a teacher that's like looking to learn about dyslexia and like how to help students, and you can even go on there. So it's just on Facebook. It's a private Facebook group.
I also have a teacher talk that I did a while ago with a woman named Jo Ellen. And she came on and we answered questions about dyslexia, and like, she's a really great resource also. So whether you go and just watch that interview that I did with her, the talk that I did with her, or if you go on and just follow her rabbit trail, she has tons of great stuff. All right,
B. Francis, I just love your comment of, did anyone hear the Law and Order theme in their head? One, because that's one of my favorite shows, and he makes fun of me for it.
Because you have to be 90 to watch Law and Order.
I do elder care, so does that count?
You do. And you love Golden Girls, so I mean,
I do.
It's like
I'm really just practicing to be.
You're just a senior citizen.
Really young.
You're just catching up.
Ah, jeez.
You're Benjamin Button. I'm gonna sing a song. I'm so thirsty tonight.
Someone says, "Have you ever?" I don't know.
Wes Moore. Mm-hmm. Cassie B said, "Have you read the other Wes Moore? I think it'd be great in the classroom." It is. So I've read it with a small group before, and it was good, but it was a little bit longer than they kind of like wanted. But the other Wes Moore is a really great book. And that guy was actually supposed to speak at our graduation a couple of years ago, and then had to cancel last minute, and the school didn't tell us. And I was sitting there, I was so excited to hear this guy talk. And then like this woman got up on stage, and I was like, who is this? It's not Wes Moore. And she was not very good either. So that was disappointing, but I was really excited that I was going to meet that guy. So yeah, otherwise more, if you guys haven't seen it, like you can just Google it and find he has a really great book trailer for it too that kind of gives you the gist of it, but that's a good book to read in class. Stephanie Jimenez is saying, hey, been a while. What do you guys do for a giggly class? It's the last period of the day and literally anything will set them off for 5 minutes. They're great kids, but I need to focus them. I think, I just think having real talks with kids is where it gets down to, like, and not from a teachery, like I gotta figure this out where like there is, and I'm not saying that you're doing this, Miss Jimenez, but like, I think there is a teachery way that people handle stuff and there's a real way that people handle stuff, right? And so if you can get out of that teachery mode sometimes.
I love this explanation.
Right, like it's just hard to explain.
But it's
where,
perfect. I don't know. Who are you explaining that you originally said, oh, you were at a conference, your teacher, like you were talking about something with someone.
Oh, and someone was telling me how they handled a situation. They were like, but they said, I did do that, but the kids didn't respond. And I said, that's because, and they told me what they did. And I said, because you did it all teachery. That's why. Like you did it teachery. You didn't do it like real human beings, like on the street, meeting in the supermarket, like sitting on the bar next to bar stools next to one another.
Even when I talk to like teachers at a conference, there's no realness, like, and it drives me nuts. And I've had other real teachers, but like they're very teachery even to me. And I'm like, I think in my head, could you knock it off and just talk to me like I'm a human being?
Yeah, it's like when you talk to a car salesman, right? Like they just always talk like a car salesman and stuff. And not all teachers are like that. But I think the difference with that is, I would say something along the lines of like, look, we need to have real rap. That's where my channel name came from. I'm like, yo, we need to have some real rap real quick. This is what needs to get done. It's not getting done because every time somebody reads the word ball or, whatever, like everyone gets all giggly and weird and starts laughing and stuff. And that, on one side, that shouldn't be a problem, right? It's great. Life's great. And we should be able to laugh and have fun in class and it should be awesome. And I want you to be like engaged and feel good and feel safe to be able to like, to feel happy in class, right? I honestly think that being publicly happy is like one of the most revolutionary things somebody can do. However, when we're doing that all the time without being able to control ourselves, then we're not being able to get to the places that we need to get to, right? Like there's certain amounts of things we need to read or talk about or do so we can hone that craft. It's like if we're in a gym all the time and I need you to do pull-ups and push-ups and run and you're not doing that, then the problem becomes we're not getting it done because you're laughing all the time, right? And the work's not getting done. And then you're going to go, well, I don't have abs. I don't understand. Why aren't I getting abs? It's like, because all you do is screw around all the time. So we need to put it on lock so we can get this done. And then I would say going forward, I'm going to let you know, look, I need 10 minutes where we're not laughing, we're not screwing around. Can I get that? Because I believe in you and I want to help you get to the place that you can get to. I need 10 minutes. Got it? And everyone can, like, that's how I just get kids to comply all the time. It's like I let them know, like, look, I need this much time. Then at the end of that 10 minutes, I would say something stupid. I would do something stupid. I would say something silly. I'd make a joke to let them know that we're out of that. And then if I needed them back again, I'd be like, yo, I need you back for 30 more seconds. Are you ready? Here we go. And then 30 more seconds of me giving direction or whatever it is. And so you learn to sort of like dance with that behavior instead of like putting an end to it. You're dancing with it and saying like, I get it. Like I there's part of this I love. It just can't happen all the time. And I think that's how you get down with kids. Niz Art is saying, any tips for getting middle school kids to slow down and take their time? Half my art class is getting projects done before the end or the rest of my class, and I keep having to come up with extra activities. Now, look, Niz, it's like, let me take this two different ways, because if they're getting done early because they just can rock that thing and they don't need to spend a lot of time on it, I think just having something built in that they can do, even if that's independent reading, is a good thing.
In our class?
But if they are, like if they're in, like reading art class, so maybe they have like some super project they keep working on, but if they're just blowing through it because they're not being careful.
If you try and make kids read that are in art class, I feel like they're going to really slow down and take their time on their project because they probably don't want to read.
It's possible. But if they are, I'm always talking to my students about the importance of oh, no, don't want to do that. The importance of attention to detail, right? Like if your girlfriend says that she likes red roses for her birthday and you get her yellow, you can't go, but it's still roses. Got your roses. Like if her birthday's on the 15th, but you celebrate it on the 16th, you're not paying attention to detail. And so maybe come up with something where like you are like grading them or whatever they're doing, there's a bearing on like the amount of focus that they're putting into any given thing. My friend Dave DeFantorum, who's a really great photographer, said that that's the greatest thing he learned in the military was like, when you do anything, it is always your attention to detail, whether you are cleaning a floor or a toilet or making your bed or ironing your clothes, it is always the attention to detail that's going to set you apart from everyone else. And that is something everybody has control over. And so I would find something that forces them to focus on details also. Now, look, I think you can still be wild and crazy and come up with fun, cool, amazing projects. Like there are artists out there that don't appear to be, honed in on details. But I think they are. I think even if you look at someone like a Jackson Pollock or like certain street artists that things just look wild and crazy, there is some attention to detail. That's why we like that and not, kids scribble. Yeah. But again, I think that comes down to like having the conversation and then explaining to them why attention to detail is so important. Patrick Millihan is saying, what other jobs do people take as teachers during the summer?
He said other than tutoring. Other than tutoring.
My first year that I taught, did we just not know we were not going to get paid anymore or what? Or did we know and it was just like, we weren't sure what we were going to do with it?
Maybe it was our first adult paycheck that we just were excited.
First adult paycheck was really great, even though we made no money. But we made
still more than Home Depot.
Yeah, we made more than, fledgling jobs at Home Depot. My job stopped paying on June 15th. I wouldn't get another paycheck till September 15th. And do we have a baby? Or Brody was born that summer.
Yeah, he was born.
We were so broke. We were so broke that when we went to the Chinese food place to get $5 dinner that we would split, we would take a whole bunch of napkins because we were always running out of toilet paper all the time. So like that.
Because student teaching killed us.
Oh, student teaching killed us because we just used credit cards because I couldn't work.
It was awful.
And you were working at Starbucks or something like that.
Yeah, I was a manager at Starbucks.
So I think other than that, like I've just done everything. I've like been a handyman. I've cut lawns. I've worked at Home Depot. I've done pretty much everything except for a lemonade stand, I think, in the summer. But I think tutoring is the way I would go. But you can do online tutoring. There's a company like Dada ABC that I've worked with in the past. That's just DADA and then the letters ABC. They are a company that all you have to do is have a good internet connection. You wear one of their blue shirts. You can wear pajama bottoms all day. It doesn't matter. And you tutor children online that are in China. And they pay a lot of money for this resource. So you're getting like kids that like actually want to show up and do it. Their parents are really engaged in it. And you make like $30 an hour, like working for them in the summertime. And so I think that's what I would do. Tutoring is always the thing that's paid the most. Or in Jersey, I used to work for a company called Excel Academy, and they paid like what, $30 or $35 an hour for me to work there. And it was like such a refreshing thing because you didn't have to worry about like, being
and all those
so
kids
poor.
really did their work.
Oh, those kids! It was like that was a game changer. We would show up and they're like
an urban school.
They would like read the whole book at night, but that was after they had saxophone practice and soccer until 10 o'clock at night. And I was like, dude, is everyone taking Adderall? I'm like just rushing through it. I don't understand how this works. It was amazing. Alex Rathard is asking, awesome. She didn't ask awesome. She said awesome. And then she said, on the same note, do you do book reports for book talks of book choice literature? If so, can you give me a quick overview of what that looks like? So look, that's something you could do. And the problem with our school is we've had so many different people in and out of the English department that like someone used to do it one way and then somebody else comes in new and they do it a different way. I prefer not to for personal reading books. I think that there's value in just having kids read. just having them enjoy a book, try a book, put a book back, get a different book, or like making them read the first 100 pages before they can trade out a book and like really knowing if they like it or not. And I think the value in that is like, look, when I started at my current school 8 years ago or so, on the first day of professional development, we were told that we would not have to any longer do lesson plans, that only first year teachers do lesson plans. I still, to this day, I haven't done a lesson plan in 8 years because, and what that did was it made it so fun to like be able to just come up with ideas and not have to prove my point to the school. It was like, today we're going to do Play-Doh and make all the characters. Like, I didn't have to fit it into a core curriculum standard. Now, look, the expectation is that you're still doing that, but it just made you feel more free to do it. Whenever you're reading something, like when I never had to read Walden by Henry David Thoreau when I was in college. If I did, I would have freaking hated that book. I read it on my own and I loved it. It's still to this day one of my favorite books I've ever read, but I enjoyed it because I didn't have to read it. Same thing with things like On the Road by Jack Kerouac or anything by Walt Whitman or anything by, I don't know, like I didn't have to read Malcolm X's autobiography because of school. I read it of my own volition. And when you do those things, I think that it just takes on a new life and it makes it more exciting. It's like if I had to go to the next Avengers movie and watch it for credit and then break it down and cite certain things that happen in it, it just makes it not as fun, right? Like things are more fun when we feel like we get to do them to just enjoy them. I want kids to enjoy reading. I want them to walk away like enjoying a book, loving a book, taking it home. Like my favorite is like last week I gave a kid a book. He started reading and he loved it. And he's like, can I just have this? And I was like, yep. Like take that shit home with you and put it on your bookshelf when you're done as like a trophy. Yeah. Like that's what I want you to do.
Someone said,
so Diana Forbes said, is your school hiring science teachers? I never want to do lesson plans ever again. We're always hiring. So just saying.
Beauty of teaching West Philly.
In West Philly, there's about half of us will be back next year. Indy Kitty gave $5. Did you try the Feltwood ball fidget? Oh no, I didn't.
We forgot. We need to write it down. Yeah, she suggested it another
time.
I
remember
that.
Talking,
and we thought how awesome.
Fidgets and stuff.
Like it's the little balls, right? Indie Kitty, like the little balls on the thing, and you can just put them and they can on the bottom of the desk, something they can just like play with.
So it looks like
kind of like a cat.
I have like
a cat toy.
I have like a pimped out ride from like the 1970s.
It's a Mexican.
It's like a that was a little bit.
No, I'm Mexican. I'm laughing.
Okay. I know. I was kidding. I was going to set it up and then say that. I think that's awesome. Thank you. I'm going to go get those. Can you go get those?
We didn't try it, but I'll make a note. I'm really bad at remembering things if I don't write them down. And I don't always write them down during this because.
So go.
I'll get them.
Or see if they're on Amazon.
Oh, that's even better.
Amazon's on everything.
I love Amazon. But thank you for the $5.
Google wool felt balls.
No,
and see what pops up on that. Toys.
Oh, but here you can show that you got this. This is your new. This is a good segue point.
We were at Five and Below yesterday, and so I got a couple things. One of them was this banana. Here's the thumbnail right here. Look, dude. And it's like filled with sand or something, and you can stretch it. And like I was walking. Oh yeah, but it'll go back. So now it looks like a hot pepper. So I was in there in the store and I kept messing with it and I could not stop playing with it. And so I bought this for my class, which looks like a banana that got run over by a truck. And then I bought a bunch of silly putty because it was, what were these, $1?
Oh, yeah.
All right, which still seems like a little bit, much for that. But silly putty seemed better than Play-Doh. I have Play-Doh in my room, but Play-Doh like breaks into little pieces and gets all over your carpet and makes a mess. Silly putty doesn't seem to do that. And then I bought this other thing I'm going to use, 400 writing prompts. And so I'm always like trying to think of new writing prompts because we write journals every day. But it's had really great ones in it. Like, what has been your greatest self-discovery? Can beauty be found in chaos? What makes you nervous? Have you ever considered giving something up? What was it and why? You've been given $1 million to donate to charity. Where would you donate it and why? So what do your friends say your best quality is? Just like fun things that you can really tie into like any book or lesson that you're doing. And I think would like excite kids to be able to talk about. Trying to fix that banana now?
Yeah, it's going to drive me nuts.
It's going to make you crazy. Maybe you should water it. Audra Smith is asking, I'm currently doing a practicum in a 10th grade world history class and offered to do a review activity this coming Wednesday. Does anyone have any fun review ideas? I'm a little nervous. Review ideas. So we do Quizzo. That's my review of choice all the time because I don't need to have any technology for it. So what that looks like is this. Quizzo, 5 questions, so it's typically 5 questions per round. I do 5 rounds or something like that, depending on the class, depending on the assessment, depending on how much material there's to cover. And I put kids in groups of like maybe 3 or 4 in the class. Everyone takes out 5 sheets of paper. They number all of them 1 to 5, and then there's a bonus question at the end. And so I ask questions that I want them to know. I only read it once. So if someone's talking, if they're not paying attention, like you have a whole group of people, someone's got to be paying attention. Or if everyone's being too loud and not everyone can hear me, I just read in a regular voice like this. Who was Poseidon's son? And then they can't hear me sometimes, and then they're screwed. So it makes sure that everyone's going to be quiet, make sure that everyone's doing something. I also tell kids that if somebody else hears your group because they're being too loud and they say the answer, whatever the hell the answer was, super loud, they can literally just steal answers. I'm not going to tell them to not listen to you. Like, you're not allowed to be over there spying on kids, but if you're just being too loud, they can steal your answer. And then I always have some silly question at the end where it's like, what is CVS, the drugstore? What does CVS stand for? What does WD and WD-40 stand for? Who was the first hip hop group to ever get a promotion deal, like a sponsorship deal? And it's just something ridiculous. Like, what's that little pocket on the inside of your jeans pocket used for, or what is it called? Like, stupid stuff like that. And that just adds the fun. Then in between those rounds, while I'm divvying up all the points, I have all the names up on my board, and I always give kids, I don't let them pick their own group name. I name them weird stuff. I look up Jeopardy songs. So they have like Jeopardy dubstep, Jeopardy hip hop, Jeopardy country, Jeopardy 8-bit. And then I play those in between, and just kind of makes that fun as well. And, it's really, look, I think here's the name of the game for me is like, it's not always about the game. It's not always about the activity. It's not always about the cool thing that you planned. It's how can you sprinkle a little bit of magic on whatever you're doing? So it could be the same old thing you do all the time, but it's the way you present it, right? It's like when you think of like, friggin' Amazing Grace is the same song. Now, like, if I sing Amazing Grace, or if like Whitney Houston had sung Amazing Grace, it's going to be different. It's the same damn song. She's just able to sprinkle magic, and I'm sprinkling horse poop on it instead. Like, it just sounds terrible. So yeah, that's what I'm thinking of in terms of that.
Do you know what WD stands for?
Yeah, water displacement.
Yeah, someone put it on here.
Bam. And that little pocket's called a fob.
Yeah. Oh, I guess you need to know the answers to your questions.
Yeah.
Huh?
Cinnamon comes from tree bark.
Yes, thank you. You're so smart.
Anything else you need to know? I got it all. CVS, Customer Value Service. Bam! That was a weird name for a store. What are you calling your store? Customer Value Service? That's too long. How about CVS? Do it. Tatiana Spencer is asking, I like Tatiana Spencer's profile picture, by the way. It looks classy. What do you do when students start tons of books but never finish them? I tell them they're not allowed to. And so the reason for that is like, look, I don't want you to have to be stuck in reading something, especially something of choice. I feel like I'm going to sneeze. And it's like, it's messing with my brain. All right. By B. Francis. So one of the things I do is tell students that I'll say, look, if I know the book they're reading, I'll say, you have to get up to this part. If you can get up to this part and you tell me that you don't like it, cool, like no sweat. But you have to get up to that part too. So like kids started like years ago reading Ready Player One, but like everyone would start reading it and then not finish it. And I'd say, look, you have to get up to when they unlock the first like part of the puzzle. And if you don't want to read it anymore after that, then fine. But like, that's just how I get down with like books. Or like a book I used to recommend a lot that I really, really love is a book called The Beach, which they made a really bad movie out of with Leonardo DiCaprio, because Leonardo da Vinci was never in a movie that I know of. And the kids would start reading it and they'd be like, this is kind of weird. And I don't really get it. I'm like, yeah, dude, you got to get to like when they get to the beach. And then if you don't like it, stop reading it. But you have to get 50 to 100 pages in is my gig. And then you can change your book up as much as you want, because I think there's a book out there for you. And if a kid does that, if they go through like 5 or 6 books that they've read 100 pages of and they don't finish it, it's like, dude, just finish the race, man. Like, just go for it. And then see, maybe the thing is like, when you get through that book, it'll have that sense of completion. Or my favorite thing, more than finishing a book as a reader, is when you have more pages in your left hand, or in your, which way are we going? In your left hand than you do in your right. Like when you get past that middle part and these pages are more than these pages, it's like, oh, all right, man, I made the switch over. It was like daylight savings time in a book.
You're weird.
I know. Miss Amelia Radici, I think that's right. I feel like some people's last names make me feel like I can speak another language, but I can't. What advice would you give to parent-teacher approach? Can you break that down for me a little bit? Like, are you talking about, like, if you're still on here, does that mean like connecting with parents, or like how I should connect with parents, or something like that? Because I can try and help you out with that question, but I don't, like, just give me a little bit more on it. You have another one? And then just keep an eye out for her answer so we can help her out.
There you go.
Thanks. That was quick.
No singing.
Patrick Millihan is saying, I'm looking to be a world history high school teacher. Any tips for majors or minors in college? You know, I don't have an answer to that, but I would say this more than that. I think if you're planning on going into teaching, or planning on going into anything, you should get yourself like wrapped up with as much cool stuff as you can, right? Like not just learning history, but like going to places of historic significance, like taking a cross-country trip, living in the back of your car, sleeping in Walmart parking lots, because they're open 24 hours and you can just sleep in the back and nobody even knows. Not saying I did that, but I might have. So like going and doing stuff, or being involved in things that are going to help you bring what you're teaching to life and add a story to it. So like, so I love that, like, I read Walden, like I said earlier, but I love more that I went to Walden Pond after I read the book and got to go see where Henry David Thoreau lived. I loved reading Ralph Waldo Emerson, but I loved that I got to go up to the Boston area and go see like where he lived and the kind of places that he was at and the church that he was a part of. Like, I think bringing that stuff up is super fun and makes what you're teaching, you can find ways to make it more relevant when you kind of like realize that these are not just people, places, and things that are in museums, but they were like real folks. Like in Philly, we have the opportunity to go see like the spot where like all the places that like Ben Franklin used to run and like Thomas Jefferson used to run, and like that is fascinating to me. And so I would just consider doing that. But in terms of majors and minors, depending on what school you're going to teach in, I mean, I think that's really the game, is like, where do you want to teach? What are you hoping to teach? Because like, there are certain schools that'll take you and they don't care what your major or minor was. And then other schools might be more specific. Like they might want to know that you have like some expertise in a certain area. So that's what I would do, is like look at those schools that you're thinking about getting into, and then say, maybe email them and say, hey, if you were me and you were in college, what would you be trying to go after? Like look up their department head, their history department head, and see what they think. And that's kind of how I would go about that.
Oh wait, she answered and
she
said, yes. Yes, I meant connecting with parents, like reaching them. Like reaching parents and I guess working with them.
So, gosh,
That's a hard one.
It is hard. I work in a school where not all parents have a phone number that works or have an address that is actually real. But I think, look, I am someone that does not work with parents often because I teach 9th grade. I'm trying to handle things between me and my students and not between me and parents. I want my guys to start acting like men, and I want them to grow up and be like, advocate for themselves, do the work because they want to act off of rewards that are intrinsic instead of extrinsic. So like, not mom hooking you up with a new game or $20 because you got a good grade, but because you knew that you grew as a human being. Now that's a lot easier said than done. However, that's what I'm aiming towards. Now, there are tons of students or teachers like my friend Miss Cho that I referenced before. Cho calls parents every day. There's certain students she calls at the end of the week, their parents, and gives them like a wrap up. Like, here's what went down this week. Here's what I saw that was good. Here's what I saw that needs improvement. Here's, the grade and all that stuff. Because that's not my jam, I do a weekly reflection form where that students every Friday have to fill out a reflection form of like, this is what we learned this week. This is what I remember. This is what I had a hard time with. This is what I wish we could have spent more time on. These are the assignments that I missed. And this is my current grade. And anyone that has a failing grade that is a 69 or below has to get assigned by a parent. Everyone else can just turn it in for credit. And so that's kind of my connection piece with parents. I also have a lot of students, so it'd be very, very difficult to call everyone's parent that needed to be called in a given week. So that's kind of just how I get down with that. And if you want that, I can send you that sheet. If you just email me, I'll send that sheet right to you, the reflection piece. Because sometimes that just helps and keep parents in the loop as well. Somebody, Nizart said you made a Legally Blonde reference and it made her day. You didn't give me another question though.
Yeah, top one.
Didn't I kind of answer that already?
I don't think so.
All right. So anyway, Patrick is asking any advice on going back to the school you grew up to teach at. Look, I know people that have done this a lot. Some people love it. Some people, it's like what they always wanted to do. It's this great opportunity. And then other folks are just like, man, like, it's not what I thought it was going to be, or like they thought it was going to be easier or better, or they just be like in the loop and they'd be doing stuff like, and it wasn't the same experience. I never had that. I'm one of those people that like, I wouldn't want to go teach back at Heights. I think like where we went to school, like, I certainly wouldn't want to teach at, the vocational school that I went to, because that place was pretty much like the worst. But I don't know, like, I think it just comes down to you. What I would do is like go back and like take the tour, walk the halls, like see if you can see yourself being there and being a part of that. If that feels good to you, then that's the end of the question. Like that's the punchline right there, right?
For Donovan, do you know if he deals with any of that?
Yeah, but he hates it. But that's a terrible school though too.
Right.
So it's like, but if Patrick's at a school that was awesome growing up, he loved it. He felt a part of the culture and the community. He thought the teachers were great. And now he gets to go back and be that teacher for kids at like.
Or what if it was awful and he hated all the teachers and he wants to be better?
Yeah, like, I think those.
But so how does that dynamic work for this new, like, inspired teacher to come into an environment that could be possibly toxic or tired, or those sort of educators, and like how does that mesh, and how does he have respect still for those older educators? I think that's part of the question.
I met a woman last week that became a principal in the school that she grew up in. So people that used to be her teachers growing up, she was now their boss.
That's crazy.
Isn't that crazy? So
I'd say stay out of the drama.
Yeah. And connect yourself with the teachers that are really doing a great job, or that you really looked up to before, and just see how they kind of would roll if they were in your situation. Jamie Crook, how do you deal with mental blanks? Gosh. I am very honest with my students. I want to not pretend that I know everything. So if I don't know something, I just let them know that I didn't know it, and I'll look it up, and that it's a really great question. Or I'll spin it, because if it's a class that like thinks that they got you, I got you, man. I knew you didn't know everything. I knew you were an idiot and I should never listen to you. If you have those kids, I'd go, that's a great question. Now, here's what I want you to do with that. I think that you should look it up, and I'm going to give you credit. I'm going to give you until Thursday, and it's Monday now, so you have a few days to do this. Come in on Thursday, and I want you to teach a 5-minute mini lesson on what that means, and I'm going to give you extra credit for doing it. And then say, and then that, I would look that stuff up so you knew what the heck the kid was talking about. And then on Thursday, when they come in, I'd maybe add a little bit, or if they didn't do a very good job, or if they didn't do it, I'd say, well, look, if you did look it up, this is what you would have found. And it's, that kind of thing. So what you're doing is the way you pitch that is that you're making student-centered learning, and that you're getting the kids to be the teachers. And that's the best way to become that's the best way to learn, is by having to learn how to teach something. So, and that's how I deal with it, right?
Yeah.
Or sing a song. That's
all right. A few more questions.
Yeah. Rob Smith is asking, I work as a supply teacher. I'm not sure. Oh, so it's in the UK. All right. Okay. As a supply teacher in a challenging inner city schools in Manchester, UK, the students take it as an opportunity to mess around. What would you suggest to take down the barriers of learning? So first of all, if this is equivalent to so what I think, Rob, maybe you could answer this. We have student teaching, which is you're preparing to become a real teacher, but or a full-time teacher rather, not a real teacher. And you are practicing essentially, you're in the classroom with a teacher for several months, and that's one thing, right? Or a substitute teacher, someone calls out, you're asked to cover their class for the day. I'm not sure which one of those two things you're talking about. In either case, I think it always comes down to relationships. I think it comes down to look, kids act the way they act for a reason. They're doing the stuff they do for a reason. No one's just grows up to be a jerk. And that's not true. I say that all the time.
Check out my YouTube channel.
That was good, man. So I think it comes down to meeting those kids in the off hours, in the in between space, whether it's in the hallway, when they're coming in at the beginning of the day, when they're leaving at the end. When they're leaving at the end of the day. You're killing it, man. Or having lunch with them, or seeing them outside school, or seeing what basketball game they go to, and or going to other teachers and saying, hey, do you get down with this kid? What's the deal there? Because I'm not sure how to handle what this kid is doing in class. I'm wondering, does he do it in other classes? Does he not do it in other classes? One of the things I love doing is going through, we have Power School, something called Power School, which is an online grade book. And anytime we have to do write-ups for discipline issues, we log them on this online platform, and then you can go in and see what other teachers wrote. And that gives me a sense of whose classes are they acting up in? What kind of stuff are they doing? Are they doing the same thing in my class? And then I would just talk to positive teachers about this stuff, but figuring out what that kid's game is, and then reverse engineering it from there, figuring out a game plan based on what's working in other classes and what's not working, and then making that work for you. But relationships are, bottom line, they're the best tactic for anything. The problem is it requires you to be vulnerable. It requires you to be talk to kids about stuff that's not always comfortable. And it takes longer than it's never just this one quick fix thing that you can do. It's a process. Sometimes you do it once and you win the game. So Jung Lee is asking, how many different grade levels have you taught, and what were those grade levels? So I've taught everything except for 11th grade. So I taught 9th, 10th, and 12th grade. And I've taught those in Camden, New Jersey, and in Philadelphia. And then I've also taught poetry. I've taught newspaper. I've taught drama. I've taught YouTube. I've taught history of hip hop. Shakespeare elective, and probably some other weird stuff in there too. Okay. This one? Mm-hmm. Cassie B is asking, do you think you'll always be teaching high school for a career, or would you consider teaching college? So Cassie, I don't have any plans to teach college. I love my job. What's that? How do I answer this? I can see myself moving on from this position eventually, but that's mostly because it's the same reason I left Camden. I would still teach in Camden, New Jersey. I just couldn't make enough money. After we had our second kid, I literally couldn't afford it, which is why I was stealing napkins from the Chinese food place so that I could, have toilet paper at home. And now I have my own children have, I don't talk about this very often. They have special needs also, and they are not being met by their school district. And so I have to make plans to be able to do that. So YouTube helps pay for that. Speaking engagements help pay for that. There are other things that brand deals I do with companies. I know my why. My why is my children, and I would love to just stay in the classroom and do that. But going out and speaking to other teachers, there's something deeply satisfying about that as well. So I'm not sure what the future exactly looks like, but I know that all of this that I'm doing, all the YouTube, all the speaking is definitely going somewhere, but it's going to afford me the opportunity to give my children everything that they need. And so that is the bottom line. Alex Rathard is saying, what? Okay. Everyone thinks I'm crazy for wanting to teach freshmen. So my question is, what are your favorite parts about teaching that age group? My favorite part about teaching freshmen is that they are on the brink of manhood and being too cool for anything, and still have a foot in the world of Pokemon cards and Pokemon like cards, and like I think some of them still secretly play with toys and like watch movies that are like there's still some of that, like that innocence in them, even in ninth grade. Like even your hardest kids like still will, like when I read children's books to them, they still love it, right? Even the kid that has a tattoo on his hand or did his own tattoo across the top of his hand. Like I had a kid one year that had 215 tattooed right across his hand, because that's the area code here in Philly. That those kids still have a little bit of that childlike ability in them. And I like to tap into that. It makes classes more fun. Whereas the older you go, stuff's too cool. No one can show how funny something was or if they liked something unless you already have that relationship with them. I find that's harder to do. Where like seniors are going to play with Play-Doh. They're going to get mad if I shoot silly string on them, because it's their birthday. Or they're not going to go outside and do sidewalk chalk when we do graffiti art outside as a part of our symbolism lesson plan. Seniors are not going to play with a banana that I bring in, but freshmen will play with a banana. So like, I think that's why I like that grade so much. Rachel's asking, I'm just curious, how does your faith impact your teaching and interactions at school? Man, this question creeps in every once in a while. To that question?
Yeah.
I plan to leave school because it's just really hard student population. I feel guilty though. Is this normal? So that's a lot.
That's why I ended you with a bang.
Oh, okay. So this is the last question. My faith is the reason I teach where I teach, right? And so like I don't talk about this often because I don't know. There's a couple of reasons I have for that. Like I don't talk about it because I love St. Francis. So look, I'm Christian, and I am like very much a part of like a community. Like that decision has changed a ton of things in my life. But what I'd rather do is what St. Francis said is preach always, and when necessary, use words. So I try to live that life through my actions and not so much through what I'm saying. And I don't try and use YouTube as a platform for doing that, because I think my thought is what I don't want to do is like have someone come on and go, oh, it's that Christian guy teacher, I'm going to not listen to him. I'd rather bring you in and just really have that conversation like I talked to about earlier. I'm always interested in the story. I'm always interested in the conversation, and never in just like laying down like what I think is right. And so, I mean, that faith has brought me to teach in the kinds of schools that I teach in, right? That's the reason that I teach in the schools that I teach in, because I feel like those kids have been dealt a difficult hand. They're on the fringe, and a lot of people don't want to deal with them. And so I think you stand with the ostracized. You stand with those that are looked down on. I think you stand with those that are cast out. And so, but but teaching in a school where it's extremely difficult, it's not. Look, for me, it's always only ever about the students. Some schools they do not deserve to exist any longer, though. Like some schools suck so bad that they will literally, it feels like they're like killing your soul when you're there. And so I think, we're just helping to perpetuate the cycle of shitty schools if we stay in some of these places, right? And like, look, that's something that like I cannot even stand here and say what schools are good and what schools are bad, and like that you should leave a school or stay at a school, because I'm not there. I want to leave teaching sometimes too. Like there are days or years or moments where I'm like, gosh, why do I even do this? It's so difficult. Why am I doing this? And the reason is because I know what I'm there for, but that can't be it's like, is this what's really there for me? So I realize that that's a long kind of convoluted answer, but.
No, I like that. It makes me think of someone like we always talk about, like Pocket Bowl Primary, who like schools also need to be
Michelle and Pocket Bowl
Primary
be
missional, but I think that you also have to be realistic. You can still carry that same mission on, whether it's a Title I school or an affluent school.
Yeah.
I think it's just about loving kids.
But it's also not letting your ego get wrapped up in like, no, I can do this. I can do this. I can do this.
be
And
the
like,
change,
yeah. And so like, and realizing like, is that where you're actually supposed to be, or is your time done there and you need to move on to the next thing, you know?
Yeah.
So, but it's hard. It's hard to leave schools. Like when I left Camden, kids cried. Like
That was a
I
gut
told
wrenching
students,
decision
it was
for you.
very. I almost
feel
cried
like
when I
had
told
to
them I
like
was leaving.
convince you to leave because I was like, no, I cannot be a stay-at-home mom and we work at this job. Like
I made so little money there.
And for our
my new
area,
school
our
was
cost
like
of living was
what did
what
we
it
go
was.
up? Like $20,000
Yeah,
or something like that. Like that was game changing money. $20,000 more dollars, and I got paid all year round. Like that was a game changer for us.
Well, and look, we've still said like it's not enough because our kids have special
And now,
needs.
now it's not, because it was when they were 4 and 2
Yeah.
or whatever. Like that was a different animal. But yeah.
I don't have any more.
Is that it?
There's more questions.
Okay.
But
Look, there's more questions, but I have to go get packed because I have to leave for South by Southwest. So I'm going down to South by Southwest in Austin, Texas to do like this teaching speech. And then I'm going to Tennyson Middle School to do a talk also. So
and then in Miami.
and then I'll be in Miami in a couple of weeks. So, you know, hanging with Will Smith and all the other bougie people. Actually, no, I'm not hanging with bougie people. I'm hanging with Kate the Sleepy Teacher and Pocket Full of Primary and all those characters. So yeah. So, and I'll tell you more about that as it comes up. But that is that. So I got to go get ready to go do all that stuff. Gang, if no one else tells you this week, right? I really appreciate you. I appreciate you coming on here. I appreciate all 100 of you that watch this at a given time. Appreciate the thousands of you that watch it when it posts. I just really appreciate it because I think you're doing the work. It is a Sunday night. You should be kicking it with your feet up with a glass of wine, but instead you're sitting here talking about education or listening about education. And even if you're doing something while you're doing that, it's still really, really important. And it just, I went into school tonight and Cho was in there and I told her kind of tongue in cheek, like not in all seriousness, but I'm like, the real people are here on a Sunday night. And like, that's probably like the one Sunday night I've been in there all year, but it was just like you're doing the work, you're putting in the work, you're asking the questions, you're being vulnerable. And I really deeply appreciate it. And even those of you that just sit here and watch and you don't ask anything, that's cool too, because you're still kind of like feeding that part of yourself as well. And I appreciate you. That's it, gang. I'll see you next week. Peace. Awkward ending as usual, and hit all.